We'll be live soon. Hello, everyone. Hope you can hear me all right. Welcome to the last session of the New Jersey Waterworks 6th Annual Conference, Building a Water Workforce Pipeline. Kendra Morris is our moderator. Unfortunately, she's having a bit of difficulty logging in to the speaker side at the moment. So I'm Kimberly Irby. I'm a policy analyst at New Jersey Future. I helped put together this session, and for the meantime, until she gets in, I will kind of take her role and help with moderating. So I guess I'll start off with, I'll explain who Kendra is. She works for Suez North America, which is a privately operated water and wastewater utility. And she would have, but I do have the pleasure of moderating a panel of experts today on how we are building the water workforce of the future. So at the moment, I did have some slides to share, but I'm not going to share them just to help go through some talking points. But this panel is essentially about the people who are in the front lines delivering clean, safe water to New Jersey. It is about the men and women digging roads to lay new pipes, installing swales and rain gardens to capture stormwater, and who are treating our water before it reaches our taps or our rivers. So we know that a growing portion of the water workforce will retire within the next several years. We call it the silver tsunami. And this creates both a challenge to fill these critical positions and an opportunity to increase the diversity of the sector. At the same time, addressing New Jersey's crumbling water infrastructure will create additional jobs across the state, especially in environmental justice communities. So now is the time to focus both on preparing community members for these jobs and ensuring that there is a pipeline to employers who are hiring. So before I move on, I just want to remind the panelists, please mute your audio if you're not speaking to avoid some echoes. I'm hearing that there's some echoes on the attendees' end, so please make sure that setting is clicked. All right, so today panelists will describe their organization's roles in training and deploying New Jersey's water workforce. To kick things off and see who's in the virtual room with us, we invite you to answer a simple poll question, which I will launch right now. So hopefully that's coming up on your screens. We just want to get a sense of the type of participants we have joining us today. I'll leave it open for a couple more seconds or a little while to give everyone a chance to answer. All right, I'm going to end the poll pretty soon, but if you didn't get the chance to say, you can always pop it in the chat. All right, so it looks like we have a large number of, oh, it looks like Kendra's here. Great, I'll just finish reading the results of the poll and then I'll hand it over. We have 36% nonprofit. We have a good distribution across construction companies, water and wastewater utilities, state government, municipal government, engineering. We have some community organization reps here and one labor union representative. So that's great. Thanks, and a few others. So thanks for joining us. And I'll hand it over to Kendra.
Great. Hello, everyone. Sorry about that temporary delay. Technology, always fun. Okay. So pleasure to be here. Good afternoon. I'm Kendra Morris. I work for Suez North America. It's a privately owned and operated water and wastewater utility. And I have the pleasure of moderating a panel of experts today on how we are building the water workforce of the future. So to kick things off, we wanted to first have the panelists introduce themselves and their organizations and how their specific organizations are training and deploying New Jersey's water workforce. So let's see if we can share the screen here first, and then you guys will be able to follow along with our panelists. Never a dull moment with technology. You know what, as we're doing this, I don't want to hold you guys up. So what I was going to do was first bring up Alyssa Ward with PowerCore Camden, who's going to be talking to you a little bit about their role training the new green infrastructure implementation and maintenance workforce. So Alyssa, please take it over.
Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa Ward and I am with Center for Family Services PowerCorps Camden. I'm the program coordinator over here. And PowerCorps Camden is an AmeriCorps program and we serve Camden City residents between the ages of 18 to 26 who maintain and build green infrastructure throughout Camden City. So our members are doing maintaining rain gardens, clearing up vacant lots and public parks. We'll talk a little bit more about that in one of our next questions. But in addition to that, we're also a workforce development program. So we are making sure that our members are leaving their term of service with some soft skills training, anything from public speaking to resume building to mock interviewing. And, you know, a big part of what we do is making sure that they're set up for some sort of next step, whether that's going back to school or starting school again, or going into some sort of employment or doing another term of service with us. They have the ability to serve up to a year in the AmeriCorps world with us here at PowerCorps. So that's just a little bit about us over here.
And Jate Pokestel, do you want to introduce yourself?
How you doing? I'm Jati Postel. I've been a crew leader over here for about 4 years now, under Center for Family Services. And I kind of get the chance to speak on, you know, my experience being a member with PowerCorps, you know, starting in Philadelphia and actually, you know, working my way up to becoming a supervisor over here and teaching other people what I learned.
Well, thank you for joining us. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kareem Adim, who's representing the public water utility from the city of Newark.
Hello, everyone. Kareem Adim, City of Newark, Department of Water and Sewer Utilities Director. And we're the City of Newark Department of Water and Sewer over the last 7 years has partnered with our Newark Public School System, our city's Department of Workforce and Development, and our Affirmative Action Department, NJIT, and Essex County College to not only recruit and encourage the younger generation and the college generation that is careers in water and wastewater, right? And you don't have to be an engineer or a scientist, but there's other roles. And, you know, workforce development training programs and ensuring that all our construction contracts, right, that we get some type of training program for the future, from GI to gray infrastructure improvement, and not training residents in the city that looks like the city to continue pushing the diversity into the workforce, private workforce, but also into our utility. Thank you.
Thanks, Kareem. And now I'll turn it to Don Shields, who's representing the private utility industry from New Jersey American.
Thanks, Kendra. So for those that don't know, New Jersey American is the one of the subsidiary companies of American Water Works, the largest investor-owned utility in the country. We go back quite a ways. I'll talk a little bit about the types of water and wastewater services that we have, as well as the jobs too. I think it's important. So we serve about 1 in 3 in the state of New Jersey. So we are certainly the largest. We make investment as one of our biggest and most proudest things that we do. We plan on doing about 1.7 billion over the next few years. That creates a tremendous amount of jobs. There's a stat we have out there for every $1 million that we spend, it basically equates to about 6,000 jobs. I mean, it's a pretty substantial investment that we make. So in terms of jobs, we hire from engineers to technicians to water quality people to lab scientists. We have risk managers, we have attorneys, we have laborers, we have mechanics, plant operators, you name it, we do it. And I think that what we try to do as an organization is mirror what the communities that we represent. So we're in Camden, we're in and around the city of Newark, we are in the city of Elizabeth as a contract operator. And what we try to do is make sure that everybody has an opportunity to come to us and say, hey, look, this is the type of job that we want to do. And we have all sorts of jobs for them out there. I think it's really important that we make that connection to the community. And, and through our contractors and also through our own workforce, we're doing that on a daily basis. Thanks.
Thank you, Don. And rounding us out is Gina Sullivan from the Engineers Labor Union.
Thanks, Kendra. My name is Gina Sullivan. I'm with the Engineers Labor Employer Cooperative. We are the labor management fund for Operating Engineers Local 825. We represent over 7,600 members in New Jersey and 5 counties in New York. We are heavy machinery operators, so we're not involved in the day-to-day operations of water and wastewater facilities. We are, however, involved in replacement and construction of new water infrastructure and anything that would require laying new and replacing old pipe work and service lines, which is today a significant portion of water work in New Jersey. As for the training that we provide, we have an apprenticeship program that is a duration of 3 to 4 years. During that time, our members master the equipment that they will be working on using different terrain and scenarios. And before they enter the field, we also ensure that our members have the necessary credentials to perform the work safely.
Okay, so now we're going to ask our panelists a few questions. The first one is on youth. How are we getting youth involved in the workforce? In what ways do you let youth know that jobs in our industry even exist? And Alyssa, I'll start with you because one of your primary purposes is to get youth involved.
Yeah, so that's a really great question. We work really hard to build partnerships with organizations throughout the city. So CCMUA, Camden County Municipal Utilities Authority, is actually our biggest partner. We've also worked with American Water and Rutgers to bring some green infrastructure water trainings to our members, which also opens up sort of the gate for them to learn about what people at these organizations do, and it gives them a chance to also let them know this is what sort of credentials you may need to come and work for us, or these are some entry-level jobs that you should consider getting your foot in the door to, so that it can open up other opportunities for you. So we do whatever we can to make sure that they know that there are opportunities out there. However, we are in Camden, so the reality is that Kim was saying earlier, these people aren't yet retired. So when we talk about the Department of Public Works, I have a lot of my members who come in and they're like, I want to work for the city, but those opportunities aren't available yet. So we make sure that when they leave here, and a lot of the work that Jati does out in the field, they are prepared to work at places like the Department of Public Works when those guys do retire. Hopefully, we can sort of be a pipeline for that, because they are aware that these jobs do exist, whether it's now or at some point.
And Don, what about you? How do you find that youth are interested in the private utility? How do you get them involved?
Well, there's a number of PowerCorp and our folks that we deal with HopeWorks in Camden, and it's trying to basically paint a picture that the utility industry is not. It's not the big green meanie. You're not out there digging ditches every day, right? It's a living, breathing organism that's got so many different paths. And I think the retirement aspect, it's a unique opportunity to push the young folks of the world to say, hey, wait a minute. Some of the things that you're doing today, you're playing video games, you're embracing technology, you're out there creating things that some of us who are a little bit older might not have done. So it's bringing their perspective into things like how do you manage assets? So GIS, we're going to talk about GIS a little bit later. Having them go out and take a look at it and seeing, where do you map these things? Where are they? What condition are they in? So you're trying to paint a picture to them that says that is foundational to the actual working of the utility. And if we can get people interested on that just very foundational aspect and use the technology, use their brains to say, yeah, this is really cool. It gets them in the door, and it gets them excited about there is something here other than just fixing this or taking readings or things like that. Working with organizations like I said, like PowerCorp and HopeWorks, are really important, and you have to reach out to those community folks and just say, hey, look, we're here, and we've got great opportunity for you. Let's get them engaged.
And it's a long-term career opportunity too, so that's always good.
Absolutely.
Gina, turning over to the construction side, how are you guys getting youth involved?
So we inform youth through visits to high schools and vocational schools. We provide insight from our members and apprentices about the work that they perform, the life of an operating engineer. We also participate in an annual 2-day event organized by the Associated Construction Contractors of New Jersey. It's called the Construction Industry Career Day, and high schools and vocational schools all over New Jersey are invited to participate to get a better understanding of a career in trades. We actually bring our simulators from our training center to give students a virtual hands-on experience in operating different equipment. What ACC&J also provides funding for transportation to schools with limited budgets so that all students have the opportunity to attend. Just, you know, in the past year alone, there's been over $300 million of water infrastructure work in New Jersey, and performed by contractors who employ heavy machinery operators like our members. And water infrastructure work, of course, is going to be a significant portion of our work over the coming years. And as we mentioned before, with the aging workforce, it's really imperative we inform youth of the career opportunities and these are careers, not just jobs.
Yeah, exactly. And for the audience members, if you are an organization that is interested in hiring, please use the chat function if we can help, or if you'd like to just let other audience members know that you have jobs available. Okay, next question to the panelists is on workforce diversity. So a very important topic in our industry. How do we ensure that we're attracting diverse groups of employees who are bringing in very valuable different perspectives? And to the panelists, how do you promote diversity in your workforce? And Gina, I'll start with you since you just ended the last session.
Sure. So some of the ways that we promote diversity are through community outreach and workforce development programs, as well as partnering with community college. In community colleges, in the past, we've partnered with Rowan College of Burlington County, which is also home of the Burlington County Workforce Development Institute, and participated in this program called WISE, which is Women in Sustainable Employment, which was a program that helps to provide women with the skills and info they needed to obtain a career in the utility industry. And at the end of the program, some participants, were immediately employed by utilities and contractors. We also partner with utilities and trades and local hiring programs. And in addition, we are currently working through the process of becoming an accredited Institute of Higher Learning, which will change our recruitment and application process from following DOL standards to DOE standards. And the DOE process will allow us flexibility in incorporating diversity into our recruitment and application process.
You learn something new every day. I didn't know about WISE, and I wrote that down, so thank you. Kareem, over to you. How are you guys promoting diversity in your workforce?
In the city of Newark, we supporting diversity in our workforce, looking at a diverse city as we are a big diverse city. We hire, from Newark 2020, we have our Department of Workforce and Development. And early on, when Mayor Baraka became mayor, we got to put, kudos to Mayor Baraka. He put us in charge of adopting a school, right? So at adopting a school, we used to go to 2 elementary schools over, I think, Success Avenue in one, and the other one maybe McKinley. At that time, we took opportunity not only to engage with the elementary school children, but those science teachers, right? And those principals that were there. What grew out of that was the Newark Watershed and Science Leadership Academy that we have up in Pequannock at our water treatment plant. We were able to take school children, a diverse background of children, up to the watershed. We launched this in 2018, and not only show them the workforce, right, but also show them how we test water and look at the different nationalities, genders, and everyone else that's up there working, and say it's a career in water and wastewater that they never seen, right? These are our future workforce, those children. And coming off of that, in 2018, the mayor launched the Newark 2020, right? Hire 2,020 people by 2020. In there, we submit job openings, right, in the city of Newark, and everybody that log into 2020 has a chance to submit their resumes, and understand what jobs are available in the city government, right? And the corporations around the city. So I think, they call my office, water and sewer, they call us the UN, because I think we probably have about every different nationality or language, and it's just an inside joke in the city that can speak. So communication is important. So when we're working in areas, the water department, right? If we know this is an area where they speak a lot of Creole, we have employees, right, from laborers to accountants to supervisors to engineers that speak that language. If we're working in a heavy ironbound area where they're speaking Portuguese or Spanish, right, we have a lot of Portuguese and Spanish workforce, Dominican, right, Haitian, Chinese, Korean. So we have a workforce in the water department, German, Romanian. I'm just saying that because, mirroring the city with the diverse population, right? Our workforce and our diversity inside our departments is crucial. Just picking up a phone call and being able to answer a customer service call, and you can relate to the person in the same language. Kendra, you may know that's important. Going out when we were doing lead sampling, right? Doing our lead crisis or challenge, just having that diverse workforce, right, that people can relate and communicate with, showed us how important it was to the city to get that communications out there. So that's how we do it.
Yeah, the number one thing people, not the number one thing people are concerned about with their water, but people are very emotionally attached to their water, want to know it's clean, want to know it's safe. When something goes wrong, they need to be clearly communicated to. What a wonderful thing that you guys have invested in hiring people of different languages. That's excellent. And Dawn, over to you. I know that you recently hired a chief diversity officer. Can you speak a little bit about her role and the work that she and American Water are doing?
Sure. Val Armstrong, making her way through the leadership track here at American Water. She's outstanding. Can't say enough about her. But what she represents is the seriousness with which we take inclusion and diversity. Val comes from a background that was challenging for sure. As an African American woman, she has made her way up through the organization to become the chief diversity officer. I think it's a real testament to her her commitment to it, and also the company's commitment. So a couple of things that we've been able to do: the top 50 company for diversity from Diversity Inc., the 2020 gold medal. I have to read. I'm sorry. Military Friendly Employer Award, U.S. Veterans Best of the Best Award, member of the National Diversity Council. And those are just external things that are going on out there. I think internally, though, we've taken it to heart. We have required inclusion and diversity training. And that training came up this year as a result of things that are going on outside. And Nick Rowe, who was one of our senior vice presidents from the central region, African American, I call him the gentle giant. He is probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my entire life, but he led a discussion with Val that was raw. And it really was, we had over 1,600 people on that podcast listening and asking questions. And it was challenging. And that type of culture, that type of conversation, we've passed that down throughout the organization and challenged ourselves to have those tough conversations and say, are we representative of the communities that we serve? And we have to get in that mode. Gina mentioned WISE. We've utilized that program. Half of the board of American Water is represented by women. We've made it something that has to be top of mind. As an engineer, we struggle. We don't have a lot of women in science, engineering, and STEM technology, but we're getting better at that. Minorities and disadvantaged communities, being able to get them involved in engineering, it's a struggle, but we have to make the effort, and we've done that. I've got some fantastic women engineers that are working for me right now, helping putting pipe in the ground. We have diverse contractors working for us, African American to Hispanic to women-owned business, and in fact, Kareem knows them very well. Montana Construction, Lisa Sante, Ballerini, she's been leading that company for years and doing a tremendous job and has grown that business, serving the communities that we serve every day. So it's just one of those things that you just have to keep top of mind and continue to push your organization in that direction.
Yeah, and also the more diverse your executive leadership is, the more younger, diverse workforce are willing to come work for you, right? At Suez, we have a female CEO in North America, and it certainly makes it easier for younger women. I've heard, from people to join, knowing, oh, I can see a path now for myself to go upward because other women are doing it, and that's just one section of diversity is gender. So.
Yeah, my boss, Cheryl Norton, she is Senior Vice President and Chief Environmental Officer, and came up through the ranks as a lab technician. And she's representative, I think, on our senior team just in New Jersey. I think over half of our senior team are women. We have the lead legal counsel, lead HR. So it's something that it's not just about diversity of race and religion. It's about diversity of thought. And I want to surround myself with people who don't say yes to me. I want people who can challenge me on a daily basis to say, no, you're wrong, and here's why, and here's what I think. So it's really important that we don't forget.
I'll remember that, Don, the next time we're working together.
I opened the door, sorry.
Okay, on to a slightly different topic. So the audience is probably familiar with the long-term control plans in New Jersey, right? We're relatively unique. We have combined sewer systems that are now requiring these long-term control plans to minimize CSOs. They go into effect next year, and they're going to combine, gray and green infrastructure. So a question to our panelists, what impact will these long-term control plans have on your organization and how you're preparing your workforce for that resulting green and gray infrastructure? And I want to turn it over to Alyssa to answer first.
So basically, the impact the CSO long-term control plan will have on us, it just adds to our educational piece that we can teach our members. So us being tightly knit with CCMUA, they usually like to incorporate us in the planning of stuff, letting us know if there are any job openings, if there's anything we can teach our members coming in that will help them, be able to get streamlined into these positions and learn about, water equity and things like that. And being a workforce development program and learning about green infrastructure and things like that, we are actually on the front lines and trying to control, the flooding in Camden already. We go out to rain gardens, we clear inlets, we make sure the trash is up, we recycle. We do all those things to make sure, before it gets even worse, that we're trying to control it and getting the community involved with it at the same time.
I just have a quick follow-up question for you. Are you guys adapting or changing your training requirements on green infrastructure as you continue to learn and maintain it over time? Like, are you learning new tricks that maybe you hadn't known 2 years ago because of the way that the green infrastructure is interacting with storms in that particular environment? Or is it as you expected and your training has not had to adapt to anything?
Yeah, so pretty much we are an adaptive program. So what we do is the way our program works is every 6 months we get new members. So when we get new members, things change. So over time, we change our trainings, we change our PowerPoints, the presentations we give to them. So it's all about, we figure out what we need to tell them, what we need to teach them. We learn it ourselves. And at the same time, we give that information back to them once we learn it.
And Kareem, I'm going to turn to you next, but you guys had a pretty extensive green infrastructure or a pilot of a green infrastructure program up in Newark. Do you know, was there collaboration between PowerCorp Camden and Newark in rolling out any of your green infrastructure maintenance plans?
I'm not sure because I didn't oversee that program. I think our Office of Sustainability and Workforce Development did. We did have employees that I know about. 8 of our water and wastewater employees just completed the National Green Infrastructure Certification Program, certifications. But on another note, we did partner up with our Office of Sustainability and our Department of Workforce and Development to create a green workforce, right? We're not waiting on the long-term control program because as we start remodeling or rehabbing parks or islands in the city, or we're doing road improvements where we're doing streetscapes, we need a workforce to manage those bioswales or do the daily maintenance on it. So we did send a class already through our workforce development to be certified green workers, right? So we put out construction contracts. They can also participate in, from a laborer to an experienced mason to help install those bioswales or curb bump outs, or those island mediums that we're going to need to maintain later on. So the long-term control program gives us an opportunity to continue to work with our Office of Affirmative Action and our workforce development to make sure we're getting programs in with Local 825, Local 472, right, the labor's union, to make sure we're training the future workforce for stuff that we know is coming in the future, not only for the utility, but outside of utility, to ensure that when our contractors come, we have that meeting that MBE and WMBE, as Don was just talking about. We also encourage, we have our Department of North Invest North in affirmative action that are having quarterly classes, right? How you can get your MBE and WMBE license, right? So maybe you want to have your own company. Maybe you want to bid on some of these contracts. So we have a variety of different avenues where we encourage people, right? And creating a pipeline for them to get a job in the workforce, but also for them to bid on a contract in the workforce or be a sub or a GC as a part of the future workforce, showing them how to navigate with these contracts and, working with the unions to, when the city of Newark, that's going to have a lot of construction, and we're in a construction boom now, pre-COVID, but we're going to have a construction boom probably will continue. You still need to get a workforce, right, that's going to put gray in and green. And we work with ICC, the Ironbound Community Corp. So with that GI class that we graduated, we're doing which is going to be great. We're about 80% complete. We're doing a project on South Street and Adams Street, right? And we work with ICC to make sure we get a lot of GI in that project. And if anybody knows, South and Adams Street is a flooded area that's been flooding for the last 20 years, but we finally abated that. And we're going to make sure we get a lot of GI in there. And it's going to have to be someone has to own it when we leave to make sure that we're maintaining it.
I'm sure, Alyssa, you guys can attest to that, right? You can't just build green infrastructure and leave it. In order for it to be effective, you got to maintain it, just like anything.
Absolutely. And that's why we hope that programs like PowerCore will maybe expand to other cities, because we've seen how much it has done for Camden. We're mirrored after PowerCore Philadelphia. They're like the big brother to us. So, if anybody's interested in learning more on how to, kind of get a PowerCore up and running, PowerCore over here and PowerCore Philly could really, really help with that process.
Kareem, I have a follow-up question for you. So you talked a lot about the green. What about maintenance on your gray infrastructure? Because long-term control plans are going to have a mix of both. So can you talk a little bit about how you need to either train your workforce for new gray infrastructure, or is it a continuation of what you've been doing before and you're just building new infrastructure to join your system? Kareem, that was to you. Can you hear me?
Kareem, I think you might have been on mute.
Go ahead, Kendra. Audio, I didn't hear what you said, the audio.
Oh, okay. I thought it was me again, because if anyone didn't know, I had technical issues joining, so I just assumed it was my fault. Kareem, you talked a lot about the green infrastructure. What about the maintenance and training your workforce on the maintenance on the new gray infrastructure that you guys may have to install with your long-term control plan? Is there any change in the maintenance requirements, or is it a continuation of the same work you had been doing before?
Right. So right now it's a continuation of the work that we're still doing, that we're presently doing. As we get new infrastructure, right, what also comes with that is a maintenance plan, right? The standard operating procedures we normally call it, Don would say, right? So you start gearing the workforce towards how they're going to maintain that, right? It's a checklist, what we need to do every day. So that part, I think, as you bring in on the younger generation, that's easy to implement, right? Because you're getting a set of documents that show you This is the standard operating procedures. We just need to make sure we're replenishing the workforce that's leaving with a younger workforce to come behind them and understand those roles.
Absolutely. Okay, 2 questions left for our panelists. Next is on GIS, or Geographical Information Systems, maps that visually depict data. GIS is becoming a very critical component of our water and wastewater operations. And Don, I know American Water is rolling that out. Can you talk a little bit about that tool and how it's helping you guys and how you need to train workers in order to use it?
Sure. So just in terms of context, we have over 9,000 miles of pipe in the state. Just put that in perspective. 7 surface water plants. We do over 350 million gallons a day. And we have pipes all the way from 1-inch diameter to 72-inch diameter. We need to know where they are. And I think, what we've worked in the past, and Kareem probably has his book ready to show everybody. But used to deal with paper maps, and these paper maps were it, and they told you where everything was. They told you the size. They told you the shape. We've moved away from that now, and that's a technology innovation. It says, look, scan them, digitize them, show, and now you get to show people where they are on any device. So you need that technology bent. You need people engaged in being able to understand how to scan things. And then how do you then take GPS points, global positioning system, take an asset with a rod and say, yep, this is where this asset is. We worked with HopeWorks and worked with them to create about 60-ish jobs where they went out. They helped us in Camden, but we have a, I don't want to say an army, but we have a legion of people that are out there mapping our assets all the time, because we have to, and we also have to maintain. So every time we dig something up, we have to map it. We have to show where it is. And then that gets back to what I talked about before, that foundational aspect of what is it that the utility does? Well, they learn that. And then they learn, well, how do you maintain it? How long is it going to last? What's the life cycle? How do you fix it? So just by entering into what is it and where is it, show it, map it, use the technology to do that, you've now introduced them into a whole new world. And to Gina's point before about AGC and the operating engineers, you've now created a path that they can say, look, now I can go figure out how to fix it, how to work a backhoe, how to operate a crane, how to drive a truck. I mean, that might not be technologically savvy, but I'm looking down the road for how is that backhoe going to dig that hole for me safely, and so I don't have to put somebody down the hole. How is that pipe going to be able to be fixed remotely with a drone or something? How am I using drones to map my system, or how am I using them to do leak detection? You're teaching, we're in an innovative stage right now where we're getting out of the typical picks and shovels type, backhoes, and what's next. And that's really what I'm looking at in terms of how GIS is so fundamental and foundational to the business. And if you understand that, you can really take a leap into what's next in the business. So.
Yeah, I tell any young person, take a GIS class, get a GIS certificate. You will be guaranteed to have a job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was just out in Jersey City. They were doing a dig to find a leak. And I'm just going to really throw out a crazy vision, but wouldn't it be nice if every utility could share their GIS layers so that instead of calling 811 dig to spray on the lines, like you have a map with, here's the old gas line, here's the new gas line. You know exactly what that is when you dig. Yeah, the field crew is complaining about that, but we're working towards that.
We can dream. We've thought.
Yeah, right. We can dream.
Absolutely.
Kareem, what about you guys? You guys are rolling out GIS? What does that look like in your workforce?
So in our workforce, we're still upgrading GIS. It's a great thing. What I did find out, I always say this, and we're moving from these index cards that we used to use, that the old timers use. They use index cards and these big map books that can weigh about 20 pounds, right? So now we're using our cell phones and tablets with the GIS. It was, when we first launched the GIS, and as we begin to upgrade it, the older generation was a little hesitant, right? It's technology. They're like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. However, as we start recruiting and bringing on a new generation, well, I'm a little happy. The millenniums, we like to say, they're mobile. They're very mobile and they're very tech savvy. So they now help our older generation understand how easy it is to pull out the iPad and pull up the GIS and say, here's the service you're looking for, here's the directions, or here's the water line, here's the sewer line, they crossing each other. So it was great to see that the younger generation helps us implement it quicker. So we just recently started working with our fire department. They do a fall and spring inspection. So and the same thing, you got the older firemen, that's not our job. And you got the younger firemen, that's easy to do. So this time with the Water Accountability Act and working with our consultant, we were able to give every firehouse in the city, working with them tablets, where now when they go out, they not only sure that they GPS the hydrant, but the work order is on the hydrant. When they do the fall and winter inspection, they push it back to us at night, GPS, great work orders, to say this hydrant cap is missing. This hydrant, we couldn't open it, low pressure. And we're able, when we repair that hydrant the following day or a couple of days, to push back to them on a GIS platform, these hydrants are back in service, right? A new water main was installed. So GIS is great. Even with the sewers, we need to jet this big sewer because we got a sewer backup. We're able now to say, you need this is the up manhole, this is the down manhole. The guy don't have to have this big 20-pound or 30-pound book and he's flipping pages, Kendra. I mean, I don't know if you ever seen when they're flipping pages and trying to, nighttime or daytime, trying to look to pinpoint where am I at? Because it don't have an address on the page. It just got intersections. But now with the GPS, it tells you right where the manhole is at, which way you need to hit the sewer blockage and everything like that.
Well, sewage is flowing down the street behind them, and they've got like a light on the map. Yeah, it's like what century are we in now? I want to pick up on what you just said, though, that the older and younger generations are working together, and the fact that the lessons are going both ways, right? The younger generation is teaching guys and gals, all right, here are the tools you can use that make your work a little bit more efficient. But then the older generation likewise teaches the younger guys, and this is how you actually get work done, right? I've learned that the hard way.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And, and again, you can't replace the knowledge, right? The institutional knowledge.
You cannot. I mean, it's people and technology, and you give people the tools to make them more productive, more effective, more efficient, right? But it's all about the people at the end of the day. And yeah, great. Okay, Gina, I believe you guys are starting to use a little bit of GIS in your work as well.
Yeah, so it's something that's gone over in our apprenticeship program, but our equipment is and will continue to become more autonomous, and that's requiring more complex training, not just on how to operate the equipment, but also on how to operate the technology. And in addition, our members need to be trained also on how to troubleshoot that technology while they're performing the work out in the field.
Yeah, real-time troubleshooting is priceless. Okay, final question to our panelists before we're going to open it up to Q&A from the audience. I think I can speak for everyone that we all want to look forward and move away from this past year's challenges. I am an eternal optimist. I'm always looking at the silver lining of this pandemic and everything else relative to the water industry and its workforce. So let me turn it over to the panelists and ask you, what gives you hope about our future water workforce? Is there a silver lining that's coming out of 2020 for you relative to the workforce? And Alyssa, let me start with you.
I've thought a lot about this question because we've actually been in service this year since April. So I learned a lot about the resilience that my members have and their work ethic. And despite the fact that, a lot of people were working from home or a lot of people lost their jobs or, it's just hard, mentally to work through a pandemic, they really pushed through it. And it gives me hope that, if ever the future looks like that, these guys and girls will be prepared for, employment in the water workforce, if that's where their, next steps are taking them, because they've showed so much in these last few months that despite everything that's going on, we know how important the service that we do is. And, this is needed. What we do is necessary. They are essential workers during this time, and I don't think they ever felt that before. And so to be able to just see how resilient they were was, amazing. I'm working where they can end up, needs can open in these fields for them.
And Jati, do you want to add something to that? What gives you hope?
Kind of the same thing Alyssa was saying. Basically just seeing the members still, interested in coming and learning throughout everything. Things might be going on with their families, but they still came in here with a positive attitude, ready to learn, ready to work, ready to actually go out there and put their best foot forward and, take everything that we were teaching them and be a sponge and actually learn and go home and go to their communities and give it back out. We still volunteer from time to time, so just being able to, do these little things and work outside and doing what like they actually, grown to love to do. That's what gives me hope, seeing them, being out here and being ready to work every day at 8 o'clock. That part right there gives me hope, for the future. Definitely.
Kareem, what about you?
What gives me hope is essential now, essential forever, right? When we look at water and wastewater, a lot of times people overlook the water and wastewater departments because those pipelines are, covered up, right? Nobody complains until they see a water main break and water shooting 10 feet in the air and they don't have any water. Nobody cares about the sewer department until there's a flood, right? When it's pouring down raining and it's flooding out there, or they're getting the sewer back up in their house. However, I think that, this year alone, the residents in the city, not only, our mayor and our city council and our administration, but the residents in the city, were happy, right? To know that, I'm home from work, I'm stuck working, I'm isolated in my house. I called the water department because, a pipe broke, and guess what? Somebody answered and they were able to respond and turn my water off and fix it. Hey, guess what? I was able to work with my city's water department to, get on the plan for my water bill. Guess what? We still were replacing low lead service lines during the COVID pandemic, right? What gives me courage and hope is residents even came out and gave out PPE to some of the contractors, right? They made, because they were concerned that their line may not get replaced because there was a shortage in PPE. So just giving me courage and hope is, seeing the younger generation working with the older generation, right? Collaborating, right? And now they're being recognized that they're essential, right? COVID has put a new light on the water and wastewater. We need water. We need to wash our hands. One of the main things they tell you, right, is wash your hands for 20 seconds. Hey, but you need clean, safe, reliable drinking water, right? And then on the wastewater side, we need to get that sewage to the treatment plant. We got to hit the blockage. So when it rains, just the fact that, this year we did see the water and wastewater, utility workers get acknowledged as they were acknowledgement that they were essential, right? And even the new people coming in and just getting acknowledged is a lot at times. Not just from me or Don or the mayor, but just from the residents.
Yeah, knowing their work has value, right? It's making a difference. Don, what about you?
I can't say it any better than what's already been said. I think it's this whole pandemic has really shined a light on how important water wastewater services are. I mean, it really has been an opportunity. Look, the one thing that kept this state going through this entire event, construction, utility work. So think about that for a second. There's a lot of folks out there. We're blessed. We're working. We're essential. We have to provide that water and wastewater service on an everyday basis. And I think just as an example, what gives me hope is technology, and being able to walk up to a customer. I have my mask. Here we go. I put my mask on. I can go to a customer, and I can maintain social distance. I can troubleshoot your problem at your house as an FSR with a FaceTime video. Great. That's technology in action. That's what gives me hope, is that people are going to embrace that technology, not only on our side, but on the customer side, to say, wow, they're actually innovating. They're thinking of me as a customer, and they're training a new workforce in order to take the to fill the shoes of the folks that are going to be moving on. That's what really gives me hope, is that technology embracing. So it's good.
It's a game changer.
Yep.
Gina, what about you? What gives you hope about our future water workforce?
So I'm just going to actually go back to this pandemic. I mean, there was quite a lot of uncertainty earlier this year about what work we can perform and what we couldn't, and construction was kind of like as a whole in a way. And luckily with us, we can perform our work socially distanced without a problem. So anyway, as for what I'm hopeful for with the future water workforce is, I mean, there's plenty of water infrastructure, stormwater management work, wastewater work that will keep our water workforce employed for quite a few years. And I look forward to our members being a significant part of making those improvements in New Jersey a reality.
Well, for me personally, you guys on the panel are giving me hope. You know, you're passionate about the work that you're doing, and it's clear that with you guys as leaders in our water industry, you're going to be bringing up very qualified, motivated, and a proud workforce. So thank you all for your service. Now let's open it up to the audience. If you have any questions you'd like to ask our panelists, I believe that there is a Q&A option. If you're looking at the panel on the right, you could use that to ask questions in addition to the chat function, like a different thing you have to click.
Kendra, it's Kimberly here. Would you like me to read through some of the ones in the chat that have been posted?
Yes, please do. Thank you, Kim.
Sure. So the first one is, how can we ensure that local hiring happens on water infrastructure projects? And what are the obstacles for unions, utilities, and municipal government to hire local residents to do this work?
So how can you ensure local hiring? Let's take that one first. Kareem, do you have a good answer to that? Do you guys have local hiring requirements within your work?
Yes. So in our construction work, when we issue contracts, and this is already a city ordinance with our affirmative action department, but we do, you know, the water department the water and sewer department does probably the most construction projects in the city around water and wastewater infrastructure. So we require, you know, a certain amount of Newark residents. And, you know, lately we've been working with the unions to, you know, put in these special apprenticeship classes. You know, the lead service line project itself, I think we put in about 50 of 60 employees in the apprenticeship program. About 34 made it out of the program. But however, we've also had, you know, other residents that were in the city that were probably not working during that time that the union was able to call back and put them to work on a construction program, on a construction contract. So we have the language that is enforced by affirmative action that we have in our affirmative action ordinance, but also in our construction contracts, we started putting the minimum number of Newark residents you need to hire, new apprentices. You know, we call it out, new apprentices. I mean, you're going to get some apprentices that wasn't working, so we can continue to expand the workforce when you come into the city that's diverse, like the city where they're coming. So in the lead service line replacement program, we were able to put, you know, economically bring some of that money back into the city by hiring Newark residents. So we've seen two values. One, the residents were familiar with the areas they were working in. Where they assisted the contractors or getting into people's home and getting the lead service line replaced to the point where some of the workers were replacing their own house lead service line, right? Which is great. And they're bringing the money back. The money's turning around. All that money is not going out of the community. It's coming back in the community, and it's coming back into the community to a diverse workforce that lives in the community also.
And Kareem, what were some of the obstacles that you'd have to hire local residents, either in the apprenticeship program or otherwise?
I don't think we see any obstacles because, you know, prior to, as we just ramped the program up, right? We had a program in place already, and we just tweaked it, right? And people knew that, you know, the enforcement is the most important thing. If I would say an obstacle, it would be the enforcement. If you lack on enforcement, right? You make deals, you sign agreements, but if you don't stick to it, that would be, you know, the obstacle right there. Not letting everybody know that you're serious about what you're requesting. Contractors are serious about getting their paycheck at the end of finishing work. Then we're serious about making sure you're, you know, meeting the requirements that we called out in the contract for you to meet with the workforce.
Does anyone else have any other comments they want to make about local hiring?
Kendra, just so people get perspective of what, from New Jersey American, we have 7 different operating centers around the state. And those 7 operating centers, all the hiring is local. And what we're trying to do is, again, mirror that, mirror the community that you're in. So when we're looking for mechanics and we're looking for GIS techs, we want people local. And not only that, we're looking for local contractors to help us out, both from a diverse standpoint and just being local. If you have somebody who's down the street from you who's a contractor, you have a relationship with them. They know the area, they know what's going on, similar to what Kareem said. So just a couple of thoughts to add to that.
And Kendrick, I just want to bring in one more thing. We've also, on our professional engineering contracts or professional service contracts, we require them to bring in interns, right? Newark residents, right? From Essex County College or NJIT, right? Or Rutgers Newark, whatever college they went to, but there's Newark residents. We guide them to, hey, we got 10 college students that's looking for internships with the firm. Bring them on board. Let them see areas that they didn't have an opportunity to see. Could be a future job for them.
Okay, Kim, thanks for pointing out there are already questions in the chat. So next question, what advice do you have for recent high school or college graduates who want to get involved in the water workforce? I think PowerCore is obviously a good example, but I don't know if, Gina, maybe you could take this. How are you guys working with high schools or graduates? Can you just emphasize again what you had said earlier?
Sure. So we do visit high schools and vocational schools. Actually, before the pandemic happened earlier this year, I visited the Burlington County Institute of Technology, which is a technical high school, and spoke with some of the teachers there. So we try and connect with them so that they kind of help to inform the students, of a career with operating engineers. Also, there's the Construction Industry Career Day. We also, of course, they can, for us, reach out to our apprenticeship programs. However, like with our work, we do a lot of public works projects. They could be on a water project for a month, and then because they're employed by our signatory contractors, they could be, they're not going to be all water. They might be on like an energy infrastructure project. They might be working on road work. It just depends. So they won't necessarily be strictly at water, but I would definitely recommend reaching out to our training center, and they can of course walk the recent grad through our program so they can see if it would be a right fit for them.
Yeah, one thought that came to my mind is that maybe we could have Jersey Waterworks develop a way to send high school or college graduates who are interested in water to a job site or a posting of different organizations. And I think somebody put that into the tab here, right? Richard, thank you. I think you put in NJ Water Association jobs in the industry.
Yeah, that's a good. That's
people to that. Oh, yeah. Do you know that one, Kareem? Have you guys posted on
Water
that?
Association, I think maybe sometime last year, we're going to be signing up to I don't know if you know, they launched an apprenticeship program for water and wastewater workers. So some people can reach out to them. They're going to require utilities to sign up, and they're going to help sponsor an apprenticeship program for utility workers. Licensed operators that to treat water or wastewater. Distribution operators, things like that.
I think we're all going to be competing for those people.
Yeah, so let me just
we need to.
amword.com/careers. That's where you need to go. I'm sure everybody's got the job sites, but in all seriousness, take a look, right? And that's, I think, Jersey Waterworks can help.
They need to get the word out about New Jersey Water Association.
These types of conversations, absolutely.
Yeah, like what Gina was saying, they have a contractor's career day. There should be an operations career day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for those great questions. Next, how can we ensure that training programs lead to careers? For example, it sounds like PowerCore Camden grads are not finding enough opportunities within the city of Camden's Department of Public Works. So where else are the gaps and how can we bridge them? Maybe Alyssa, you can answer that. What are you guys doing when your grads aren't able to find work? Are there steps that you can take to help them and that other organizations can adopt?
So that is our biggest struggle, is employment after PowerCore Camden, just because of what employment looks like in Camden. So what we do is we try to make sure that they have the tools, a driver's license, certain certifications. All of our members leave with OSHA 10, CPR, first aid. Some of them are interested in getting their security license. Other types of certifications or anything that'll lead them into different employment, at least for the time being. Another thing that we have seen some of our members do is we have a really good relationship with the New Jersey Tree Foundation, and we have had some of our members get hired seasonally there. So we just have to look for alternatives right now, because DPW and CCMUA, they don't have the capacity to bring our members on at the moment. So we're always just making sure that, okay, if you can't get hired in Camden, but maybe you need to drive out to Cherry Hill, let's get you a license. Let's make sure you have the certain barriers, removed. And if it's childcare, if it's mental health services, so that you can get through the day, getting a therapist, whatever that may look like. Because there's so much more when it comes to gaining employment than just, oh, I want a job. There's all these other steps that have to be taken in order for it to be successful, because we don't want to set you up somewhere where now you feel like you're unprepared because you don't have X, Y, and Z. So we work on eliminating those barriers, so that when DPW is hiring, or CCMUA or American Water has an opportunity for an entry-level position, they are ready for those opportunities. So that's kind of how we go about this block that we have with DPW and other places like that.
Anyone else on the panel have any suggestions on how to ensure that you get trainees into jobs?
Yeah, Kendra, just to add to that, I think making sure that as we're looking at this massive retirement, and 30-40% of the workforce over the next few years is going to go, they're going to retire. So it's job shadowing, and it's one of the things we're trying to tackle under our START program. So Solutions Today and Reinvestment for Tomorrow. There's a workforce development component to that. We're going to work with New Jersey Department of Labor. We're going to work with folks like PowerCore and others to say, hey, look, I've identified 15 people in this particular operating center, and they have, they've got a CDL and they're an operator, a back operator. I need somebody to shadow them for 6 months before they retire. So that's on us internally to do it, but it's also on then the educational system on the outside and organizations to prepare people to say, hey, yeah, I have them ready with the basics, so that I can bring them in either under a conditional type program or apprenticeship program, or hey, look, you're going to come in here on a probationary program and see how you do. And trust me, if you've got the basic skills, you want to get out there and work, we have plenty of work to do. It's not, you're going to be successful if you just embrace what we have to offer for you, because the work is, Kareem, and Alyssa, Gina knows, Kendra, it's not going to end. The water and wastewater industry has got so much work. It's a very, very long runway, and we need people. So again, having these conversations, prepping, and really it's on us as internal organizations to say, these are the people, these are the skills, here are the organizations, let's get them together.
Well, and I like what you guys were doing. You started early. You start not just in elementary school, but like middle school, high school. You're getting people prepared, put it on their radar screen. This is a career option.
Yes, yeah, Kendra. My mayor was a school teacher to a principal, vice principal to a mayor. So I think it was a great opportunity. And just again in 2018 with the North Science and Leadership Academy, it just highlighted what we had to offer, and just sharing that with the community as a whole, right? And when you do that, I remember a gentleman, he came and met with me in 2015, and he did an apprenticeship on a cleaning and lining project. Fast forward 2019, he has his own company. He's an MBE, right? And he's a sub. So he went around doing restoration. After they replaced the lead service line, he went around restoring the lawn and the curb area with concrete, and he employs 15 people. That's great. But, you know, he went through all the different programs. So part of that is just trying to look to see if you can, you know, get the capital and the zeal to maybe venture out on your own.
I saw one question in here about deploying virtual reality as a way to train workers. I haven't seen that be used in Suez yet, but I'm not sure any of the panelists. Have you guys ever thought about or used virtual reality to train people?
Not quite virtual, but augmented maybe. That's where things are going, at least first. And I know I can't take credit for it. I think it's somewhere down in South Jersey. They actually do have it's like a HoloLens type trial going. Yeah. It's basically you look at your screen, you can see all the underground infrastructure. You see the gas line, you see the water, you see storms and everything else. You know, it's mapped out. Is it perfect? No, but it's the vision of where I think we need to be. It is that augmented reality. You need to get there because again, you're going to have this mix of paper and people they have a tough time embracing that, but we need to get there. So stay tuned. I know we're moving in that direction for sure. There it is, VGIS. Who's that, Richard? Thank you, Richard.
I was going to say that could just leapfrog over GIS or somehow be linked to GIS, just to our vision before.
Yeah, these glasses are going to have a little scrolling screen on them. I'm going to be able to.
Yeah, right.
Google Glass.
As long as they don't fog up with your mask.
Yeah, right. That's for sure.
Any other questions from the audience? If not, I want to. Go ahead.
There are a couple questions in the Q&A tab. If you're able to.
Okay. Thank you, Kim. Kim's holding us together here today.
Good job.
Maggie asks if resources were not limited, what would you like to see to increase diversity and utility leadership over the next 5 years? Specifically, once people are hired, how can we keep them and support them in their career development? I'll answer that while you guys are thinking about that. From my perspective, what I see is working individually with people to set them out on a development plan. And it takes a good manager to sit down with someone, pay attention to them, ask, what do you want to do? And let's map out how you get there in 2 to 5 years. You know, what are the trainings you need to take? Who do you need to shadow, to Don's point? You know, what subject matter experts do you need to go and interview? What books do you need to read in order to get to where you want to be? But I'll open it up to the panel if you guys have any other suggestions or seen other things that work.
Kendra, I'll just jump in. I think one of the things we're rolling out now as a result of the increase in inclusion diversity conversation is it's called business resource groups and the diversity champion network. So what does that mean? Well, we're still trying to figure it out. I mean, I think the idea there is to say, let's get groups together to have that very conversation to say, wait a minute, I want to make sure I've got a diverse workforce. Well, then how the heck do we go about doing that? What organizations do we need to engage to help us along with that? And so how do we people thinking about it on a day-to-day basis? We made a lot of progress over the last couple of years in terms of safety, making it top of mind. We had an OSHA recordable rate that was a little bit high, and we started focusing on it. And just like anything else, you put the focus on it, you put the resources to it, it's going to change. And I think that's where the leadership needs to start to say, I want to make sure I've got an inclusive and diverse workforce. Well, let's get talking about it. Let's start putting some action plans together, and let's get everybody engaged. Because if you don't have everybody engaged and believing in it, it's not going to happen. So, my 2 cents.
I think you just answered the next question, which was, you know, how do we ensure that diverse workforce gets continued support? Yep, you're right. It is about having support groups within your organization, because anyone that looks like you or talks like you, sometimes you just need that extra support group who is saying, yeah, I feel the same way you do, you know, and like a little camaraderie goes a long way, I find. Next question, how do we make water and wastewater business attractive to young people? Well, I'll jump in with one question, and Kareem, you had said this during our prep sessions, which is there are so many jobs. There's such a range of skills that are needed. You could be an engineer, you could be a scientist, you could like working in a lab, you could like, you're a mechanic, right? You like working out in the field, maybe you like customer service, you're a people person. So I think exploring and exposing people to the wide range of skills and jobs that are out there to make it attractive. And then the bottom line to me is always, if people are passionate about the work they do, they come to work because they care about what they're doing. They know they're making a difference in people's lives. And it's that passion and that belief that we're essential workers that drives people. And I'll open it up to the panel if you have anything to add to that.
So I think, you know, we have to be sell a little more that the careers in the water industry, right? You can really have a career and make money. You can live off of it. But a lot of people don't know that. They think, you know, I have to be an engineer or a chemist to come and make a living working in the water and wastewater field. No, you could be a licensed operator. You could be a lab tech. You could be a water sampler. You know, you're a meter technician. You're a GIS technician, or you're a sewer repairman, or a sewer equipment operator that comes out and unclogs the sewer. So a part of when we do North Science and Leadership Academy, and Success Avenue, one of the schools that came to the water department, the children were just amazed at the equipment that they seen in the yard, but also amazed as when we walked around our building to see, oh, what do those guys do over there? Those are drafters, right? We're moving to GIS, but they said they're drafters, so they draw all day. Yeah, they draw the map. They're drawing the maps. It's a career. What are these guys? They're meter technicians. They install meters, right? And what are they doing right there? They're going out to take water sampling. They're land surveyors or they're assistant surveyors. And we always say there's a lot of job titles in the water and wastewater industry, right? What does she do? He's an accountant. She's an accountant, right? There's accountants in the water system. What is he in charge of? And that lady right there, she's the coordinator, right, of green infrastructure in the water department. Or she's the environmental specialist. Or we talk about safety. People don't even know that there's a role in the department that this is the department safety team. They ensure that everybody have the right safety equipment, that they have the right safety training, right? And, I just think letting them know that you don't have to come in and be an engineer or a scientist, and there's profitable careers inside the water and wastewater industry. And you got to start, in that middle school, right? And going up to the high school, because everybody may not go to college, but it's a career path right over here to come and be an operator. And, when I first started in the water department, I remember coming in and there was guys saying, yeah, I've been working here since I was 17. And I'm like, you've been here 47 years? And I'm sitting, but he's the superintendent. He's the superintendent, or he's the chief operator. And I'm saying, and he was like, yeah, I was making, 3 cents an hour. Some guy told him like 3 cents an hour. But and we look at that now, but back then it was a profitable career that he made a living working in the water department.
So it's funny you just you mentioned 3 cents an hour just because someone asked, just some of the pay scales need to go up in order to attract people. Like, well, we're doing better than 3 cents an hour. But
right, I would say on the municipal side, on the government side, yes, because we're competing with I'm gonna say it again. We're competing with New Jersey American, Suez, Snake Valley, Aqua, Middlesex. A lot on the municipal side, we really can't compete with our private partners on the pay scale. And it's huge. That's why we always see we're recycling some of the workforce, right? For 2 years, they were New Jersey American. The next year, they were Newark. 8 months later, he's down in Camden, working for Camden County MUA with New Jersey American. So yes, on the municipal side, the rate structure needs to change.
I mean, not only that, Kareem, I think we're competing with our contractors as well.
Right.
So that you get it is a pretty close knit group, and I think that's part of the problem is it's a close knit group. We don't do a great job of advertising. We don't say, hey, look, you can have a career. it's not exciting, right? It's buried. You can't see it. But when you do, when you take them and you take kids to go see these things, wow, I never even knew that existed. And I think what we need to do as a group, water wastewater industry, is show them how exciting it can be. Show them the technology. Show them the things that we're doing. Hey, that's pretty cool. That's similar to me sitting behind my Xbox and playing a game here, right? That's how we're going to get people excited about it. And longevity. And longevity, let's be honest, it kind of cuts both ways. People, they've been there forever, and maybe they're just. It's like, well, no, wait a minute. They're a fountain of knowledge, and they're waiting for somebody to come along and to give that information to somebody new. But when you bring that person in, they've got to also want to. So the other thing we've got to make sure of is that career development path. Kendra, you said it before, is making sure that people have a path. And I know some of our, and I've probably experienced this myself. There's a group that say, I want to move fast. Well, okay, utility industry typically does not move all that fast, right? I think we can all agree on that. But we have to get better at that. We have to show people, say, if you want to move fast, here's what you need to do to move fast. So there's balance there too with career expectations for a younger generation versus an older generation. So just some food for thought on things we need to do better.
Well, and it also comes back to what people are comfortable paying for water and wastewater services, right? Like if you want to pay people more, then rates for water and wastewater have to go up. And there is a tension between what people think is appropriate to pay. And there's, certainly affordability discussions that are involved, but, what does it actually cost? So I don't know the answer to that. If anyone does, I'm happy to hear what you think. But
threw the grenade out into the group.
I did.
I don't know the cost, but we need to be upfront about the real cost of water and wastewater improvements. If we're upfront about the real cost of those type of improvements and what it takes to treat water, in these systems, it goes back to, as we move into the new generation, we have a chance to correct what they didn't do in the past. Have that conversation that you just said, Kendra, of the real cost of water and wastewater. We won't keep kicking things down the road.
There's a topic for Jersey Waterworks at the next conference. So I think that's about it. We answered quite a few questions on how to bring diverse workforces in, advertise the industry to youth. So thank you again to our panelists. Kim, I think you wanted to share a few slides in closing. And as she's pulling that up, I just want to say what a pleasure it's been to moderate this discussion with you guys. Providing safe, reliable, affordable water, wastewater is not easy. Requires a great deal of training and skill. And thank you for all the work that you're doing in providing this required training to the workforce to keep the water flowing. So thank you very much.
Kendra, I think there's maybe one question left, and we still have a bit of time if you want to.
Oh, where did I miss?
It was in the chat, but I also put it in the Q&A as well.
Any ideas on encouraging more women to enter this career path, as it's currently overwhelmingly male dominated? As the female, I'm not going to answer that because that would be too easy.
With me, my encouragement would say, when we go to job fairs, we bring along some of our female employees, right, in all levels, right. When I'm sitting there talking now, but the director before me was Andrea Adebawale, right? She rest in peace. She was an African American. She was a female. My assistant director, one of my assistant directors in the Department of Water and Sewer, is a female. My chief chemist is a female. My chief accountant is a female. My assistant chief accountant is a female. My chief procurement officer is a female. So the jobs are there, but I guess, I looked at a platform on Jersey Waterworks. I want to say it was a month ago when they had, Kimberly may remember, I think it was 4 or 5 different females doing the presentation. So when we go into the schools or those career fairs, that's who we bring. We want to bring them too. We don't just want to bring 5 males. We want to bring some of the females in too. You want to bring that diverse workforce in to show what they do. And making sure they have the opportunities to excel once they get in the department. right? The general counsel for the water department is a female.
Yeah, I think Kareem couldn't agree more with what you're saying. I think it starts with leadership and says that we want a diverse workforce, and regardless, male, female, black, white, you name it. It's about encouraging people and then holding them accountable. And it's not about quotas. We all know that. It's about getting and giving the opportunity. Working with organizations like WISE, working with the schools, working at it, and then holding people accountable and saying, looking at your team and saying, well, look at your team. Your team doesn't look diverse. What are you going to do about it? And get challenged and have the challenge. And then also let's not forget to market ourselves either. Kareem, you rattled off how many people that are in your group. Who knows? Who knew that? Not many people do. Right. So, as an investor-owned utility, we kind of have to put a lot of that stuff out there. Kendra knows is get SEC disclosures and get things like that. But that's a requirement. Let's not make it a requirement. Let's just tell the story. I think that's what's more important. We have to tell the story because there are challenges. It's like we got to make the industry attractive enough too. Right. That was the question we had before. How do we make it exciting enough that we can say, hey, let's get a more diverse workforce? It's everything, and that's part of the challenge is. You can't boil the ocean. You got to focus on a few things. Well, let's find those women engineering organizations. Let's find these organizations that can provide us the candidates, give them the opportunity, put their best foot forward, say, yeah, we want to hire you. Let's go.
And then that's where the business resource groups, development plan, mentorship programs, once you get in to help them stay. Yeah, great questions. Thank you, Kim, for reminding us that was there.
Great. Okay, I'll share my screen. Right. Is everyone seeing this once it loads?
Yep.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Andrea, did you want to take this, or I can?
Yeah, go ahead, Kim. You can close it out. I think I've talked enough until I broke the time period.
Right. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. And so we're wrapping up this session and the conference as a whole now. Just a quick reminder that Jersey Waterworks has drafted a letter to the New Jersey congressional delegation about priorities for federal water infrastructure spending. So if you're interested to add your name and organization, check out the Jersey Waterworks website to join us. And then broadly, a call to join us. We have 4 different committees, and this particular session was kind of born out of the CSO committee, actually, because we have some water workforce subcommittee that is working on these issues. So please join the collaborative and join the committee as well. And I believe that's it. So thanks, everyone, and hope you have a great weekend and end of your holiday season.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you.